Welcome to the Principal's Message, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, Professor Warren Bebbington AM, who's our recently appointed Chair of the Board, and our focus today is to talk about the Senior Learning Precinct and the exciting developments that are happening this year. So Warren, thank you for joining me. I know that members of our community would be very interested to hear a little bit about you, so it might be interesting to share with them your journey in terms of your professional life and
Sure. Well, I started out as a musician and I was head of the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music for a very long period. But then I filled it up through universities and eventually became a Vice-Chancellor of Adelaide University after being Deputy Vice-Chancellor of Melbourne, and retired 2 years ago.
Wow. And I've always wanted to ask, what was your instrument of choice?
Well, I began on the piano, but then in the States I studied conducting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so your move into academia was into administration.
Initially into teaching music, and then yes, into senior management in the university.
And certainly we're blessed as a school to have someone like you who's willing to contribute to our school. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what you love about Billanook?
Well, what I like most of all is that it's able to deal with someone like my son, who's a special needs boy. And we moved into this area once we discovered Billanook. We'd been over the other side of town, but this is a unique place with its Dame Phyllis Frost Centre catering to special needs children. I couldn't find anything else in the state like that. Yeah. And that's been quite wonderful for him. I don't think he'd be in an ordinary school if it wasn't for that. So that's really what we love most. But of course it's a magnificent campus, and we like the caring atmosphere. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, although you said you retire, you never actually really retire, do you? Because you're still teaching at Melbourne Uni.
A little bit.
And you're also involved heavily in a number of organisations.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting for people to hear about because you're chair of 4 boards, aren't you?
Yes. Well, I chair Melbourne University Press, and I chair a college in the city, a tertiary college, and the peak body in autism in Victoria, Amaze Incorporated, and I'm on the board
here. And
of
course, our board here, yeah. And in terms of the specific nature of our conversation today, it's really to talk about a really exciting time at the school, isn't it? In that we're moving towards the end of the year towards the construction of our Senior Learning Precinct, which is the next stage in our capital development program, isn't it? We've done a lot of work over the last 6 or 7 years, and in many ways this is sort of the crowning glory, isn't it? Because a child at the school will travel through brand new facilities. You know, most recently it was Dame Phil that we refurbished, and before that the middle school. But today particularly is to formally announce the opening of the Senior Learning Precinct building fund appeal, isn't it? And it'd be really interesting, I think, for our community to hear a little bit about that building fund appeal from you.
Well, it's important, I think, for every family at Billanook, because no matter where your child is, in early primary or in middle school, almost every student's going to end up finishing in the senior school. So this is a facility that everyone will use. It's quite a splendid concept. It's got state-of-the-art technology and a very contemporary approach to learning spaces. It's going to cost $3.5 million to build.
Yeah, that's right.
And we've launched the appeal, not to raise all of that, but to raise just 10% of it. Yeah. To look at Billanook's beautiful campus, you could be forgiven for thinking this was a wealthy school. Clearly that's what the government thinks, because every time we apply for a grant to build a building, we don't get anywhere. So the facts of the matter are that Billanook does not have the big endowments that the major private schools of Melbourne has. It's never assisted by the government in its building program, and so for the first time we've had to borrow a substantial sum of money to do this project. And so we need everyone's help. the help of our parents and grandparents and of former students and the community to try and raise $350,000.
Yeah, and look, we're off to a really great start already, aren't we? Because with our target of $350,000, we've almost raised a third of that already, haven't we, before we've even opened up the bill.
And this was just in 6 months, so that's a splendid start to have a third of this in the bank, as it were, before we've even announced the appeal.
Yeah. We're very fortunate to have some incredibly generous people that do support us with our building funds appeals. And I think we would say every little bit helps, doesn't it? Some people can give large sums of money and others can give small sums of money, but they all add up, don't they? And we hope to begin construction in late September or October this year, and it'd be great if we could go to that point knowing that we've met or even maybe exceeded that appeal now. And so we really, I personally, I know Warren would echo this, we're incredibly thankful for the generosity of members of our community in past building fund appeals, and we just hope that members of our community would consider making a small benefaction to our appeal.
And it doesn't have to be money simply dropped in the pot. Of course, you might have a family who'd like to name a room or a desk or a space in honour of their family or in honour of a family member who's died, and obviously we're open to that.
Absolutely.
But I have been impressed with the generosity already, and a number of the board have given, you've given, I've given.
That's right.
And so it's not our role to tell people what they are capable of giving, but we hope everyone will consider how important this is and helping us.
And while on one hand we haven't been successful with federal or state government grants, the great news is that the government will help us a little bit with our donations, because all donations are tax deductible, aren't they?
Indeed.
Which is a good thing for those people that are considering giving to the appeal. I mean, we're both really excited about the Senior Learning Precinct. I think if we look at the impact of the new middle school with its contemporary learning spaces, it's such an exciting time in the school, and senior school will be revolutionary in terms of the changes that we'll bring about in there. And as Warren said, everyone, whether you're in 3-year-old ELP right now or whether you're in Year 9 or Year 10, everyone will benefit from a new senior school. And we would very much appreciate your consideration of maybe making a small donation to the appeal. In the next couple of days, all members of our community will receive a hard copy flyer that talks about the appeal and a letter from Warren and I. And in that there's lots of information about how you can donate. But of course, if anyone would like to talk with me personally about a benefaction, I'd be very happy to sit down with you and have a conversation. So thank you, Warren. Thank you for joining us, and also thank you for your service to our school. Our community is deeply thankful to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching another Principal's Message. All the best, and see you next time. Thank you.